now tuned in to the Cold Hard Truth, Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips@CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands. Miracle Brokers is back. That's right. We're fully reopened and back to work. Our agents are here to serve you with all of your packing and shipping needs. Need to move? Don't worry. Give us a call today. Collect a package, shipping around the world, or straight to Cayman? You got it. Give us a call on 949-5989. Collection by personalized appointment only, where our dedicated agents are on standby to personally assist you. Don't forget to wear your mask, maintain social distancing, and one person per appointment. Check us out at miraclebrokers.com today.
Okay, good morning, everyone. How are you guys? Happy Thursday. We've got is it Tanya? I see an extra I in there. Tanya, maybe. Brown joining us from Jamaica via YouTube. Thank you, Tanya, for letting us know we got some fans in Jam. Listen, we got listeners all over the place. I'm always fascinated at the people that tune in. And, you know, some of them are not even vocal. They just tune in and they just watch the show and we know that they're there. I had a young man the other day. He said his elderly father was listening to the show. So we've had some elderly person say to us, can we get like a radio link or something? It is a little bit challenging to do that, to be honest. But, you know, we're on YouTube, so you don't need to necessarily have a social media account. We are setting up a page, like we're streaming live to the website as well. So if you go to the website and you click on live show, you will actually see the show live. But we are putting together a category for the live show so that if you miss something, you can always go back and view it in the event that you don't have social media. But the funny thing with Facebook is you don't actually need a Facebook page in order to access Facebook, because pages or public pages, which is what we are open. So you just go to facebook.com. I've got an aunt who doesn't have a Facebook account and she's always going on there and watching us anyway. So I don't think you necessarily need a social media account to make it happen. You can just go and have a look. So yeah, check us out, folks. CaymanMarlRoad.com is obviously the website. So welcome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this morning. I'm just going to have one quick little look at something here on the computer. So we have a lot to cover today. And the first thing I wanted to do was to acknowledge the loss of another reporter in Honduras yesterday, in what can only be described as an absolutely brutal murder midday. His name is, I think the Spanish people would pronounce it Herman. We would look at it and say it's German, but I think they would say German, maybe. And he was actually a very popular young man on social media in particular. I know this because I actually subscribed to his page and he kept us all updated about happenings in Honduras. He always seems to have had like the latest news first. You know, he had almost 50,000 followers or likes on his Facebook platform alone. I don't know if he was on Instagram, but I imagine he probably had an Instagram page as well. His father is Vallecillo by the same name, and he also had, he's also a reporter, and he worked in the industry for, I think, a number of years. Um, this young man, I think, was a DJ. Based on what I've seen, he worked for 45 TV, which is a local TV station in Honduras, and he also worked at a local television, sorry, a local radio station there as well. So yesterday, him and his cameraman apparently were driving somewhere in La Ceiba, and they were gunned down, ambushed really in broad daylight. Of course, we do not know why. It was horrific. Immediately, and the worst part. I mean, there's no worse or good part about this, but perhaps the saddest thing is yesterday was actually his birthday. So imagine waking up thinking that you're going to be celebrating another year of life. You've made it to, I'm not even sure how old he was, but he looks like he could be in his 40s. You've made it to that point and you're just celebrating life and happy to have made another year. He got up at 7 o'clock in the morning. He actually posted that by 7 that morning, he had received so many comments and so many, just well wishes for his birthday. And not even halfway through the day, by midday, his life was just snuffed out. I mean, it's just incredibly sad. And of course, in the world of, brazen criminals, they did it in broad daylight. It was captured on surveillance camera, I think, from a nearby business. And in addition to that, there, there were photos all over the place of the assassination of him and his cameraman sitting in this Honda. It looks like maybe a Honda Civic or Honda Accord. Um, and that's how somebody's life was taken yesterday, a fellow journalist in Honduras. So I want to extend my condolences to his family. Um, it's just really horrible and it's really sad that we live in places in the world where your life means nothing to people. Like they will just take it for whatever reason. It's just really, really sad. So he does have a brother here, Lewis, that a lot of us know. He is a photographer here in the Cayman Islands. And he did post on his page yesterday that he had lost his older brother as well. And there's some beautiful pictures of, the family. I'm just going to pull a picture here of this young man. Such a handsome young man. I mean, it's just shocking and unbelievable all at the same time. So I don't know if he had any children or if he was married or anything like that. But my heart goes out to all of his family. Him and his brother Lewis look so much alike. I think his mother only had 3 boys based on the photos that I have seen. And they all look very much alike. So that was him. And let's not forget also that his cameraman lost his life as well. And of course, every life in this world, has value. And this is his cameraman as well. I think the cameraman's name is Jorge Posas. And they were, again, if you're just joining us, gunned down in Honduras yesterday afternoon in La Ceiba. And Honduras is, boy, I'll tell you what, Honduras is a crazy place. Some of the news and stuff that we hear coming out of Honduras. Here he is with his dad. Again, you can see that there's a strong, like they definitely get their looks from their father. The genes are extremely strong. And his father is a journalist as well. And I'm sure that's where his eldest son, I believe this is the eldest son, actually got his passion from. But yeah, he was posting yesterday morning, literally hours before his life was taken. This is one of his last posts, saying that it was not even 7 a.m. and my WhatsApp already had messages from all parts of the world from midnight. And let's not say the Facebook, it's already 9 a.m. And probably it'll be impossible to answer all for the rest of the day. But if there's something beautiful in all of this is the love without any commitment that they all have for me, basically. So many blessings that send me that are pure gold for me. There's nothing more valuable in the world than the grace of God, and have many, many friends. God bless you and your families. Thank you all. And again, he posted that on his social media page. And within hours of that post, unfortunately, that was it for this young man, um, German Vallecillo, I believe is the correct pronunciation of his name. So horrific news, and news like this travels around the world like the speed of light. Um, it's shocking. We received the news, you know, into the afternoon. I think several hours afterwards, we had persons contacting us. There were still media in Honduras on the scene at the time who were obviously shocked at what was happening. And quickly they were able to identify who he was, and everybody was just shocked. The local College of Journalism in Honduras have issued um, a statement stating that whoever did this, they need to be caught. There also was the Human Rights Organization in Honduras. They were also calling for swift and immediate action in this regard as well, to try to catch these perpetrators. I think everyone knows that not only is there a significant amount of violence in Honduras, but oftentimes the culprits get away with it. They're not caught. There is a sense of the fact that there's a lot of corruption in Honduras, and people who are from Honduras will say they'll never be caught. People don't trust the police. The police say that they can't trust the citizens, and it's just a vicious cycle that goes around and around. So again, my sincere condolences goes out to his family, and I cannot imagine yesterday afternoon what his brother Louis, who again lives here in the Cayman Islands for many, many years, would have been thinking when he got that news. I mean, it must be so incredibly shocking. And I did see some of his social media posts where he was just like, he's just in shock, really. All right, so good morning to all of you. Twyla, I've not seen you in a while. Thank you so much, Miss Twyla from Barton Town. Big up yourself, my lady. Good morning, Morna. Thank you again for tuning in. Morna says, good morning, my friend Sandy. It's a beautiful day here in the Cayman Islands, and I'm enjoying the rain. Yes, I don't know if it's raining all over the island, but it is certainly raining in Savannah, Barton Town, Lower Valley area, and I love it. I love like when you're sleeping and you can hear the raindrops on the roof, and you wake up to that, beautiful rain. I was supposed to get my car washed today, so I guess that won't happen, but I don't mind. The car can get washed tomorrow. It get washed a little bit by the rain on the exterior anyway. Miss Barbara Campbell is here for it. She's like, I'm here for the tea. Let's get it. Let's get it. Good morning, Melita. Thank you so much for tuning in. Miss Bonnie says that she's watching. Krista, hi, darling. How are you? She says, I look so pretty today. Well, thank you, Krista. The only thing I did different was put on a little bit of mascara. But it's amazing. Makeup has such a transformative ability. I have to tell you, as women, I know some of you are really into the whole makeup game, and some people a little bit too much, because it's like you see their before and after, and you're just like, how is that the same person? But yeah, I think makeup has even just a little bit of mascara has the ability to brighten you up and kind of make you pop a little bit of mascara, my usual kind of lip gloss situation, and we're good to go. It doesn't take much. Rosanna, thank you so much for tuning in. Rosanna looks like she has a gorgeous Facebook profile photo. Cesar Sanchez, thank you, Cesar, for tuning in this morning. And what's the topic today? So we are going to be talking about COVID. We have a couple things. Number one, today is the day of reckoning for the people of the Cayman Islands and the government, in a sense. At 10:30, there will be a Court of Appeal decision. So we're going to talk about a little bit about that this morning. We're also going to be discussing COVID-19 around the world, what's shaking, what's going on with that. We're going to talk some more about pensions, because that is very much on our radar. It remains a very hot topic. And so we're going to see what transpired yesterday. We're going to talk about a local restaurant that has shut down because they ran out of food, basically. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. Big shout out to Mr. Purvis, who says that he is giving us a shout out he says, shout out to the landfill crew. So, yes, big shout out to them. They do a wonderful job trying to keep things in order there at the landfill. And I cannot imagine that that would be an easy job by any stretch of the imagination. So thank you guys so much for the wonderful job that you do. Every time I see a member of their crew out there on the trucks, picking up our garbage and trying to keep our streets clean, I have to give them, just a big kudos and a big shout out for all that they do. Miss Debbie, thank you for tuning in. Rodney's here for it. Yami says, so sad to know that we woke up each day and we don't know what's next, and it can be our last, I think is what she meant to say. This is why they say every day, thank God for each day. Absolutely. I mean, it's you just never know. I mean, it's sad when a person's life is taken by violence and by other people for just probably very selfish reasons. Now, I should say that late yesterday afternoon, they already had about 3 or 4 men arrested for this murder, and that was swift. I mean, that's like a record situation. So I don't know how the Honduras authorities pulled that one off. I'm going to wait to speak to some of my sources today to see if we can get a little bit more information on how they arrested these people and what happened. But yes, that's like I said, in the country where a lot of murders and stuff go unsolved, a lot of assaults and all sorts of things go unsolved. It's amazing that they were able to find them in the space of hours. So I would like to know how they did that. Of course, he was a very popular young man, so it's entirely possible that there might have been people involved in the planning of his murder or who overheard things and who had tips that they immediately provided to the authorities. It's unfortunate that someone couldn't have provided a tip in advance to save his life, Patrina says, very sad news indeed. Nikki, thank you so much, Nikki, for tuning in. Mr. Jake Manderson says, I'm here for it. A little bit late, but that's okay. Jake, I want to say congratulations to you. I noticed yesterday on Facebook, I think it was yesterday, or maybe the day before, because sometimes the days get a little bit muddled. But I did notice that Jake was sharing with his Facebook friends that he actually got a promotion at work. And I thought that was beautiful. So congratulations to Jake. He's now a supervisor at PwC, accounting firm. And I thought what I loved most about his post was that he shared how other people had contributed to his success in the workplace, and that he was just so pleased to, let me just see. So he was celebrating yesterday. He says, virtual toast with my colleagues. Everybody's online, looks like on Zoom, and they got a bottle of, I don't know what that is. Is that prosciutto? I don't know what you're drinking there, Jake, but a little bubbly. And I love this photo. I gotta ask you, Jake, do you have a professional photographer just like walking around with you? Because the lighting and stuff on your photos are so good. And so I saw this photo of him by PwC. I'm gonna show you guys this because this is like, Jake is like a model. And I just thought to myself, Jake always looks good. Is he walking around with a photographer? There's one other young lady on Facebook, like every single photo she takes, she looks like she's a model. And I'm like, do you walk around with a professional photographer? You just hand them, the iPhone or something, and they're always taking pictures of you. I don't know how these guys do it, but they always look on fleek. And here's Jake posting his, he says, I got promoted to supervisor yesterday. And I've been with PwC for 4 amazing years, and it's been by far the best place I've ever worked. Every job has its ups and downs, but I'm happy to be here, and I love my team. I got 2 special mentions, one being my right hand, even though she sits to my left. She's the best colleague I could ask for. I don't know what I'd do without her. And secondly, my boss. This is good to hear that bosses are supportive. He's the best boss ever. And somehow he knows how to make work feel like a staff social every day, but still handling business. Thank you for believing in me. And I'm super excited to lead the team into the next fiscal year and to see what 2021 has in store for us. So again, Jake, I look at your photos and I'm thinking, who is the photographer? And it's not just that photo, it's like all of them. Maybe it's just you got a really awesome camera, you know how to use it. You know, I've got this fancy dancy iPhone 11 Max, and I think I'm really not utilizing this camera to its fullest ability, because so many times I take a photo and I'm just like, this is not the best photo in the world. But yes, Jake's photos always look very colorful, and they have that beautiful color to them. And Jake has up a video from Sunday. It looks like we need to hit him up on Sundays, where he's having breakfast, and he says Sunday morning flex. It looks like that's turkey bacon with eggs, and then French toast with strawberries. That looks delicious. Am I the only one who gets enjoyment out of watching people's like what they do on Facebook, like the pictures that they post and the food that they post? Like, I'm all into it. And I guess people probably say the same thing about me. I don't cook as much as I used to because I'm really like so busy now, but Sunday was like kind of my cooking day, and I'd love to get in the kitchen and throw down. And actually, funny enough, on my Facebook page this morning, a Facebook memory came up where it is showing me what I was doing. I don't know when that would have been, but that would have been, I think, a couple years ago. And you know, it always tells you today, like 5 years ago, this is what you were doing. So it was actually showing me that, oh my God, I just see this recipe on Facebook that looks divine. Oh, I think I'm gonna try this actually. Let me save it. You know, if you don't remember to save it. So this was back in 2017. King came over. King is now in the UK, and we had a spread of food. And oh yes, I remember this day. Thank you, Facebook, for the memories. So this was when I was showing King a couple recipes in the kitchen, because he was asking, well, how do you cook this and how do you cook that? King has since moved to the UK, but can I tell you, this was one of those moments that we're like, let's throw down in the kitchen. And based on the photos, I can't remember what I did July 2nd, 2017, but Facebook is reminding me. Facebook is telling me exactly what I did. Based on the photos, we had a fantastic day. So much of our socializing, you know, revolves around food for Caribbean people, and I think just people all over the world. We like to get together and we like to cook and, you know, share in recipes and just sit down and have a good meal. So this is what we were up to. Look at that. We had a nice salad. This is one of my salads that everybody loves. People can tell you about this salad. It's like a tomato and cucumber salad. And it's got like lots of good flavors in there. So there is the jalapeno pepper jack cheese. There is the sweetness of the pear. So I use pears in this, and this particular day I put some almonds in it as well. Sometimes I do it with or without almonds. And then you got to get yourself a nice ripe avocado. Listen, this recipe is awesome. And then this rice and beans, as you notice, it doesn't really look fully like rice and beans, because I actually try to make my rice and beans with brown rice just to be a little bit on the healthier side. So it tastes good. It just doesn't look fully like full on like your traditional rice and beans. So I've been trying to tweak that recipe for a minute, but it's a little bit challenging to do it, I must say, but it always tastes good. And then we had some Brussels sprouts. I love me some Brussels sprouts. Really, really easy. Normally I just roast them in the oven with a little bit of like salt. You know, I use the what's the salt called? It'll soon come to me, but not the traditional table salt. This is the little bit of the thicker one. And then just toss in some olive oil and some seasoning, stick that in the oven, and you're good to go. This particular day, we also had macaroni and cheese on the table. Oh my God, this looks divine. So we had mac and cheese, and we had some stuffing. And you know what I do with stuffing that's kind of interesting? You can tell I'm a foodie, right? The way I get into these things. What I do with stuffing sometimes, instead of making like a traditional just, stuffing, is I actually will put it in the cups, like the cupcakes, and you make cupcakes like out of them. So each person can just grab a stuffing, like a little cupcake, and they're just as delicious. Um, so I see King here again in the stove, in front of the stove, taking instructions, no doubt, on how to cook something or another. So yeah, that was a fun day. After the curfew lifted the other day, we had a little get together for Father's Day, and here's King in the kitchen there, again, getting some lessons. And we were able to share with friends that we haven't seen in the 3 months since the shutdown. And it was just so good. One of the crazy things about friendships is you really miss people when you know you can't have access to them. Otherwise we are WhatsApping, we're talking on the phone. We may not see each other for 3 months, but in the ordinary sense of the word, when you know that you can see them, you can call them up, say, hey, let's go for lunch. Let's do this. Let's do that. It doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but the second someone tells you you can no longer see them, it's like, oh, I miss Mary so much. So there's something incredibly interesting about that, I think, psychologically. Yeah, so South Marjorie says, good morning, y'all. What happened? Missed the headlines, heading out to work and can't listen. Aw, South Marjorie, you got to find a way to listen on the way to work in the car. Louis says it's a beautiful day in Detroit. Blessings. Yvette, thank you so much for tuning in. Yvette says that I'm always glowing. Well, thank you, Yvette. I really appreciate that. I don't tend to put like much of anything on my skin except moisture, because I do, like I said, have very dry skin. So I appreciate that compliment. Gadiel, good morning to you, darling. South Marjorie says, heard something about 5G might pass by our islands. What is 5G? Though, is there any scientific evidence as it relates to the dangers surrounding it? So South Marjorie, I need to go back and listen to this because I don't want to get any misinformation. But I did hear that Kenneth Bryan brought up this topic of 5G in the Legislative Assembly. I don't know in respect to what exactly. So there are a number of rumors about 5G. When something is new, people want to make it out to be all sorts of craziness. And one of the things about 5G is it's one of the myths surrounding COVID. Now, I don't know that his comments were in relation to COVID, right? Because I haven't personally heard what he said at all. And people believe that COVID-19 has been caused by 5G. Now, there's a number of reasons why that doesn't make any sense. So the first thing is, Marjorie says, what is 5G? So 5G is the new technology that is available for internet usage, basically. So, we have different bandwidths. So we've got 5G, we had 4G. The next one will be 5G, and I guess after that will be 6G. They'll probably just continue the numbering. And there have been so many conspiracy theories about 5G. So not just in terms of COVID-19, but people just go on and on and on and on about 5G. So I think it's one of those discussions that we briefly had in the past. As it relates to COVID-19, there's no connection with 5G, believe me, you. First of all, the areas that have 5G, there's been no link to COVID. I don't even know how COVID could be caused by 5G. It just doesn't make any sense. But the thing now is to call 5G into question about everything. So maybe it doesn't work for COVID, but is 5G causing cancers? Is 5G making us all go crazy? There's all sorts of questions out there and theories linking 5G to all sorts of things. So they talk about it so much that it has forced some people who will believe anything, because people just love a conspiracy, to set some of the 5G towers in Belgium and the Netherlands and even Quebec on fire. And they're demanding governments remove these 5G towers. There was some city, I think in California, where these moms found that I think 3 kids in a school tested positive for cancers. And they said that this is because of the 5G tower that was close to their neighborhoods. As it turned out, they changed their minds after the 5G towers came out. And they said, oh no, it's probably the contamination in our waters. So people are really jumping on any conspiracy theory that they can get a hold of. And that's why even when if a vaccine becomes available for COVID-19, there'll be a lot of people who are not going to take it because they don't want to believe anything scientific or the government is trying to do something to us. This is like controlled by Bill Gates. I mean, the theories just go on and on and on. So yes, there is a lot of information about 5G out there, and there's a lot of misinformation about 5G. Now, here in the Cayman Islands, if you get certain providers for internet, you will actually see on their bandwidth, you've got 2.4 gigahertz, and then you've got 5 gigahertz. That's a little bit different than 5G. So I don't know that we have 5G here yet. I kind of don't think that we have adopted that technology. Or maybe a little bit, but I'll have to check with some of our technical people on this one. But yes, basically 5G is an upgrade from 4G in terms of cellular service, and it's giving you way better capacity. So in terms of performance on a 5G network versus a 4G network, you're looking at something like, so 4G is normally what we call LTE. So everybody knows it as LTE. So remember we had, what was it, 3G or whatever before. 2G is actually disappearing. Someone sent me a note about that this week. The telecom companies locally, I think, have told people that they need to upgrade their phones, because if you have a phone that can still pick up 2G, that means that it's like super old, right? And I think Digicel, in fact, had said that they had been changing out people's handsets at no cost to them to try to get them a little bit more up to date. So 4G, which is LTE, gives you 1 gigabytes per second. This is technical stuff here now. 5G will give you 20 gigabytes per second. So in other words, when you're on the 5G cellular network, you are able to move at the speed of light. It's like that much faster. So it's a really, really fast. And in the terms of the maximum bandwidth, 4G is like 100 megahertz, and then 5G is like 1,000 megahertz. So it's just, download speed is basically like 10 megabytes a second versus 100 megabytes a second for 4G versus 5G. So it's just a significant performance enhancement in what you can do. And the cellular carriers are starting to roll out this 5G network across the world. It's expensive to put these things in place. And then to think that people, are so afraid of new technology that they're just buying into any sort of conspiracy and just starting to tear things down is really, really crazy. So for example, in Canada, they have started to deploy 5G in certain areas. And, everyone's looking for faster connectivity, faster, and they're partnering with people like, Ericsson and some of these other companies, Samsung and so on. And unfortunately, because people are believing these conspiracies, it's causing them a lot of issues. So of course, China is involved in a lot of different things in terms of technology. So 5G is something that China has been clearly involved in. And now everybody's like, well, if COVID came out of China, then maybe because they're involved in 5G, there's some connection. And there really, in my opinion, isn't. But I think you need to do the research for yourselves. So basically, because of this mass hysteria about COVID-19, generally speaking, there have been a lot of other conspiracies that have come out about the 5G networks. I do not know what Kenneth Bryan's comments were in the Legislative Assembly, but I do know that it was brought up at some point. And they're saying that chances are 5G won't really start to take off until 2021, which is next year, obviously. And they're forecasting more than 1 billion subscriptions worldwide by 2023. So they have done some scientific studies on the 5G network, and they have said that people have concerns about exposure to electromagnetic fields generated by devices connected to the 5G network. And there is no scientifically proven diagnosis or causal link that thus far can be established between these symptoms. Like some people claim like, oh, they have headaches, they have this, they have that. And there's no connection there between electromagnetic fields. And that is the consensus in the medical profession, the World Health Organization, that 5G does not pose a danger to human health. And there are limits around the world in terms of what you can be exposed to in terms of radio frequencies. So, those are already in place, and you are more likely to be exposed, to be quite frank, from electromagnetic waves from things in your house, such as microwaves, household appliances, computers, wireless routers, cell phones, and other wireless devices. But those electromagnetic waves are non-ionizing. So it's not like they're like X-rays or ultraviolet rays. They're not powerful enough to reach the cells of the human body and affect our immune system. So I think people are just fearful of new technology, and that is what it is. People are fearful of things they don't understand. Like if someone actually sat down and fully understood the technology and how these things work, they would have a greater understanding, and that would lead to less fear. Karen says, mess with Jake. Yes, mess with Jake indeed. Hey, King, what's up? I didn't even see that you were here. King, you must remember that day that we were in the kitchen cooking. Good morning, Natasha. Karen says, got to be ready for anything at any time. Atlas, thank you for tuning in. Tanisha, good morning. It is a beautiful day. I think the rain is over and the sun is coming back out. So I might get that car washed after all. Runika, thank you. King is having a good laugh. He's like, Simia, yes, you taught me how to make that salad. Have you made it recently, King? I'm curious to know. Catherine, Irvelyn, and Miss Ruth are all tuned in for it. So let's talk about COVID-19, because so much has been going on in the world of COVID-19. So let us just have a look here. King says that his ballet remembers it well. Oh my goodness. Maureen, thank you for tuning in. She says, I'm late. Listen, we still got plenty of time left in the show, so jump right in, folks. Jump right in. So COVID-19 has taken the world by storm, and the Americans thought they were over it, which I don't know. Only God knows why they really thought that, to be honest. And unfortunately for them, they were nowhere near. Remember, we said well over a month ago, just like the Spanish pandemic, we can expect to have this happen in waves. So the first wave, then everybody reopens and gets back out there. Here comes the second wave, and here comes the third wave. With the Spanish pandemic, the second and third waves were the deadliest. That is where most people lost their lives. So why do we think we have the ability to look at history, and history should have taught us something? So why would we believe that this would have been any different? Only God knows. Especially since the world's population has grown in the past 100 years. And, it's just absolutely crazy, the number of people that were like, oh, the bars are reopening. And there's so many ridiculously stupid people out there some of these young people out there trying to purposely catch COVID-19. So they were having COVID-19 parties, like let's all hang out and see who can catch COVID-19. Well, they've been catching it all right. Trust me. And so the numbers are spiking in the US on the increase in multiple US states. I mean, they've now got over 128,000 dead, 2.6 million, almost rounded up to 2.7 because it's like 2.86, 2.686. So infected persons in the US, Brazil has 1.4. And so the infections, sorry, talking to my web guy here. Okay, so the infections continue to skyrocket. And, you know, it's just crazy. So what are we talking about here? There was a very sad story yesterday about a groomsman who died as a result of this. This was in Tampa, I believe, where the groom had coronavirus symptoms and wanted to postpone the wedding, but the family said it would cost too much money to reschedule. More than 100 people who now attended the ceremony have reported ended up being infected, and the groom has died just 2 days after getting married. Unbelievable. So a groom has died. He wanted to postpone it. He wanted to wait. And the family was like, nope, it's going to cost too much money. And then look at that. He's dead. I don't know if anything could have prevented his death, but my gosh, it certainly didn't help that he was, just crazy. That he was forced to go through with this wedding. And now more people might die because they have had at least 100 people who've been infected. This is actually in India. So let me just clarify this. The Tampa carried the news, Fox New York carried it, but this incident actually happened in India. And listen to what they've said. The groom was believed to be a super spreader. So there are people who spread it more than others. I'm sure they weren't wearing any masks or anything else. And infected the other guests at the event that attended. It was attended by nearly 400 people. And so the wedding took place, according to the Times of India, in a city called Bihar. And health officials are trying to track down all of the guests and test them because now this is not a good situation. So apparently he traveled in mid-May to some city, and then he started showing symptoms. The family ignored his pleas to postpone the wedding, saying that it was going to cost too much money. He was feeling unwell by June the 14th and wanting the wedding deferred, and family heads from both sides advised against it because, weddings and stuff in India tend to be much of a family affair, more so than the groom and the bride. Citing huge financial losses if the arrangements had to be canceled. And now the groom is dead. And potentially many other people being infected as well. So this is happening all over the world. It's an unfortunate situation. In Florida, we told you guys on Friday that the Florida authorities had shut down the bars like immediately that morning after waking up and knowing that they had almost 9,000 new cases in the state of Florida. So they decided they said no drinking, no liquor serving in any of the bars. I don't know what else you'd be opening up a bar for. Odette, thank you so much for tuning in. Lisa, thank you as well from the BRAC. Big shout out to people in the BRAC and Little Cayman. So let's break it down a little bit. So worldwide, we have 10.3 million cases as of Tuesday. It's now gone up to 10.7, and today's only Thursday. So as you can see, it's getting up there. Global deaths have reached over 516, So that's well over 500,000 now. In the US, they have 2.6 million cases plus, and they have, like I said, 128,000 deaths. So these are figures now for COVID-19. Dr. Fauci has warned, and this again was Tuesday's news, so this is a couple days ago. We're going to look at what today's news is saying. But he has warned that as many as 100,000 new cases a day could be predicted for the US. So right now, they're at about 40,000 a day. And he's saying if we do not contain this, we are looking easily. And I was watching some news out of the US a couple of days ago, and someone was saying that Dr. Fauci is known to be very conservative in his comments. Like he's not into scaremongering or anything like that. So they were like, if Dr. Fauci says 100,000, it's probably going to be well above that, because he tends to be very conservative with his numbers and what he says, because he's not trying to scare people. So if he says 100,000, it's probably going to be 125 or 150,000 kind of thing. I was like, wow. So more than 48,000 coronavirus cases were announced across the country, and 8 states announced single day highs. So this was on Thursday, and it says here, this has been updated July 1st. So as of yesterday, Europeans have reopened, but not to Americans. The European Union has said, no, thank you, America. You stay where you are, where you're a hot mess of a situation. They just don't have it under control. They have done a horrible, horrible job. There's no other way to describe this. The Trump administration has primarily contributed to this. You know what is so crazy? The other day when the Trump administration had I don't know if you guys remember, but he had this political rally. I think it was in Tulsa. And, he was claiming that, he was going to have like 1 million people show up. And they were going on and on about how many people are going to come. Well, apparently he didn't have anywhere near 1 million people, first of all. So sorry, Trump. And then they went back and they kind of twisted a little bit. And he's like, oh, well, not really. We're not really saying 1 million people were showing up. What we were trying to say is we were going to have 1 million people inquire and register with us for more information. Whatever. So what has happened now is he had this rally, and his team members, his political campaign, the venue organizers were very, very concerned about the possibility of having even 10,000 people in an arena space. So they were doing like social distancing seating. So they put like space between seats and signage that said, wear your mask, remember your social distancing, blah, blah, blah. So the venue did all of that because the venue knows their American people best. And they know that the first thing an American will do is sue you before anything else. And so they put these measures in place that they thought would make sense. The Trump administration, his campaign workers, went around the venue after the venue organizers had done this and removed the signs. They could be seen ripping down the signage and the warning about social distancing and the warnings of, make sure that you wear your mask and all this sort of thing. So they were actually going around taking the signs down. Now, listen to how crazy this sounds, right? The New York Times had gotten information that this had been happening, and some of it had come out from the people within his camp who I guess were not really in full agreement with what was being done. Absolutely, absolutely crazy that they would do this. And so here you are having a rally, and I think one of the reasons why they wanted to do it is they wanted people packed together to give the appearance, especially on camera, that you have a lot of people there. Instead of seeing empty spaces, pack them in, and it looks like, oh yes, maybe we do have 1 million people there. It's just unbelievable. So the Trump administration, I think, has done a horrible job of handling the situation. And in this instance, people now know for a fact that they have actually exposed their own supporters to this virus because they were trying to make something look a particular way. So they actually were seen. I think they may have even got some video footage of them going around tearing down all the warning signs and stuff that the venue had put up. And of course, they had venue attendees sign a statement saying, hey, if you catch COVID, you didn't catch it from us, or even if you do, you cannot sue us. And of course, all of the people who went there would gladly sign that, knowing that they were taking their own lives at significant risk. So the US has a number of new records. And again, Fauci warns that this is a resurgence in the South and West, and it puts the entire country at risk. So the epicenter has shifted now from New York, but even in the Midwest, the numbers are yet again rising. So I think Fauci was making these comments in front of some special congressional committee or something that has been called. These politicians love to talk, boy. But he is the nation's top infectious disease expert. So he testified before Congress on Tuesday. And he's predicting that if they do not get this under control, the rate of new coronavirus infections could more than double to 100,000 a day if current outbreaks are not contained. And he says that the virus's march across the South and West puts the entire country at risk. Alaska, Arizona, California, Georgia, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Texas, and of course, Florida, the closest state to us, are not getting this situation under control. And so Tuesday was the fourth time in a week that the United States has posted new single-day records. So the number of new cases in the US have shot up by 80% in the past week, according to the New York Times database. Now imagine we are potentially considering letting these people in September. This is July, August, and September. I think this would be a huge mistake. And if we reopen our borders and we say, right, if we reopen our borders, we know we can't stop UK citizens from coming in. And they don't necessarily have it under control either. They've got over 314,000 cases, right? The vast majority, and of course, local businesses are like, oh, well, there's a risk to everything. That's what you say now, until we end up like Jamaica. And we're going to talk about what's been happening in Jamaica since they reopened their borders a couple weeks ago. So, right. So we reopen our borders and we say no to the Americans. Well, how's that going to work? Because we fly in and out of Miami. So we're only going to allow flights all the way from like the BA flight to come in, or we're going to allow our staff to fly into Miami, our counter staff to go into work and expose themselves. And then they're helping people at the counter, and then they get on a plane, then they come to the Cayman Islands. Like, it kind of doesn't make any sense. And the vast majority of our tourism dollar comes from North America, AKA the USA. So what's the solution here? We open our borders and say no to America. You're still, as a tourist business, not going to have a whole lot of bookings or a whole lot of business. Cruise ships, forget it for 2020. I say they're probably not going to be operating until 2021 realistically, although they claim that they're going to start booking in September. But I think our government has a very clear understanding that whether they're booking or not, this particular destination is not available for booking. So they had more than 4,600 new cases of the virus announced in Arizona. That was by far the most in a single day for them. And Vice President Mike Pence planned to travel there yesterday. More than 7,800 new cases were announced across California, and more than 6,800 new cases in Texas. So they're starting to try to re-shut down businesses across the US. Theaters are saying, oh, we were going to reopen, but no. Maybe we won't do that for the July 4th weekend, which is coming up this weekend. It's going to be a big weekend for celebrations. And the people just don't get it. I mean, they are out and about doing whatever they want. They're celebrating, they're partying, they're having COVID-19 parties. Let's see who can get infected. And then when they get infected and they start dying, they're like, well, why isn't the government protecting us? The government can't protect you from yourself. The government cannot protect you from being stupid. So you need to be in a position to understand what's going on, right? So now New York and New Jersey and Connecticut, they were hit really hard with the first wave. They're telling travelers from California to quarantine for 14 days because they don't want to get hit again really hard. So even states that have and governors that have reopened are now rethinking how much they want to reopen. And a lot of them are like, hold on a second here. Maybe we have made a humongous mistake. And perhaps, we need to just roll it back a little bit. Don't let people get back to work. So Dr. Fauci says, I can't make an accurate prediction, but it's going to be very disturbing. I will guarantee you that. Because when you have an outbreak in one part of the country, even though in other parts of the country they're doing well, they are vulnerable. And of course, they're vulnerable because it's not like they can stop you from traveling from California to Florida, from Florida to New York, or from New York to Connecticut, or Connecticut to Texas. It's one country. You can drive from one state to the next. There's no border controls like that. So even if they were to shut down the airports like within the US, which they won't do, you can still get in your car and drive from one state to the next, or drive from one area to the next. So this is where, I think citizens need to take some personal accountability and some personal responsibility for the decisions that they're making. Kansas, Detroit being hit. They're showing some improvements according to the latest numbers. Wisconsin, that was when June began. And this says here, wow, what a difference a month can make. Because now they're back in it again. A surge in coronavirus cases all over the US, pretty much. So in Kansas, the governor is asking people to wear masks as case numbers lurch back toward their peak levels. Wisconsin, new cases in the Madison area have reached an all-time high. Ohio, it's just like all over. They're trying to ask the Republican Senate Health Committee chairman has asked President Trump to set a better example by perhaps wearing a mask, because every single time he has a press conference or a meeting or whatever, he does not even have a mask anywhere near him. Both him and I think his vice president have refused to wear masks. And so they're saying that, you could set a wonderful example by simply putting a mask on and even occasionally covering your face. And he has refused to do so. So I want to look at Florida, though, because Florida is crazy. So one final note, after months of lockdown, the European nations are about to open their borders to non-essential travelers from a list of countries around the world. The United States, of course, is not on this list, although they're being advised to avoid international travel in any event. So as of July the 1st, which was yesterday, all members of the European Union, as well as Iceland, Norway, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, plan to begin opening their borders to travelers from places like Algeria, Australia, Canada, Georgia, Japan, Montenegro, Morocco, New Zealand, Rwanda, Serbia, South Korea, and so on. Even Uruguay, Monaco. But to the United States of America, they have said no, thank you. Stay where you are. So Americans can fly to Ireland and Britain, but they will not get into the rest of the European Union, which, Britain is leaving the European Union anyway. And they're supposed to quarantine for 14 days, even if flying to the UK. And so that's what it is. So if you're having European travel plans, make sure you check that out. Travelers from California and other hard hit states are being told to quarantine. So when they're traveling to other areas, they're being begged to please quarantine. Do not, like New York is getting antsy again. New York is getting scared to death of what this will mean. Let's have a look at Florida. Let me just see if there's anything else worth mentioning here. In terms of the possibility of a vaccine, that's still very much up in the air. There's certainly no guarantee that a vaccine will be forthcoming anytime soon in any event. So you just got to hang on. And there is a possibility. I mean, everybody assumes that there will be a vaccine, but what if there isn't? That is a very likely possibility. And so people keep talking about herd immunity. Well, there's no evidence of herd immunity at all. And so that being the case, we could be living with COVID-19 in its restrictive nature for quite some time. So again, these large gatherings are not a good idea. Stay away from them. According to the National Bureau of Economics Research, they looked at 315 of the largest US cities and found no evidence that protesters reignited growth in cases in the last 3 weeks after the events. And in fact, they found that they had a lower positive rate in the surrounding community for the Black Lives Matter protests. So that's kind of interesting. So this gentleman here from this organization, Atlanta, let me just see his proper name. Mitch Smith, he's been tracking COVID-19 cases, and he says that that they haven't seen the increases that they expected as a result of the protests because they're looking very closely. He went on to say, I'd be shocked if there weren't additional protest cases that we just don't know about, but we're a month in now, and so far we're not seeing a direct link between protests and huge clusters. So they will continue to watch that situation for sure. Let me just see what else is coming in. On the news. So Miami-Dade, this is as of last night. Miami-Dade restaurants must now close dining areas after midnight, the mayor says. And again, this is after the number of coronavirus cases surpassed 35,000 on Monday in Miami-Dade County. Florida is not looking good. So someone wanted to know, did the COVID rules allow lap dances? The mayor says he didn't know, but he's banning them. It's like, who would be concerned about a lap dance during a time like this? Like, seriously. So yes, the situation is not good in Florida. Let's look at some specific numbers here for Florida. Let me just see here. Keep up with all this news, folks. All right, so in the state of Florida, Like I said, cases surpassing 35,000 on Monday. They're again amending their emergency orders to try to reduce the amount of crowding in restaurants late at night, because they're finding that restaurants are actually becoming a breeding ground for the deadly virus. So they're encouraging people to do delivery and pickup, curbside pickup. And of course, there's some diners and fast food places and even some restaurants that, just doesn't work in terms of curbside pickup for them. So on Tuesday, Florida had over 6,000 additional cases of COVID-19. That is the state's fourth highest single day of cases. The total for Florida is 152,434 with 3,505 deaths. Miami-Dade County reported over 1,500 new cases. And so for that specific area, that's what the numbers are. So I think on Friday, I do believe that Friday remains the highest number of like the highest number for the days type thing, because it was over 8,000, almost 9,000 persons they woke up to. So here we go. I'm just going to bring this up here. So the highest single day total was reported on Saturday. So it wasn't even Friday where it was 8,000 change. It was Saturday with 9,585 new coronavirus record cases, which set a single day record for the state of Florida. And on Saturday, they had 22 new deaths as well. Almost 10,000 a day. All right, folks. So the world has gone crazy with COVID-19. Larry, thank you so much for tuning in. The mayor, governor, and president never wear a mask. No, they don't. Good morning, Sue. Sue says, morning, Sandy. My brother lives in Arizona, and he says it's really bad. They need to make masks mandatory, and the woman governor won't do it. Crazy. That is crazy. Larry, how are you guys doing in New York? Are you afraid of people traveling in from California, Florida, and other places? Sue says, Trump mad how he doesn't ever wear a mask. And then Rosanna says that Trump has the cure. I'm sure he thinks that. Lisa says that she's noticed that over the months, and they're out every single day. And listen, there have been people in his offices and so on that are testing positive for this. It's not even like, oh, the White House has no positive cases. Of course they do. And so they should be concerned. So they continue to be willfully ignorant. 9,585 cases, a new record for Florida on Saturday. Miami-Dade County, of course, has the most. Broward County, Palm Beach County, and Monroe County follow after that. Unbelievable. So here in the Cayman Islands, we will have a press briefing on Friday. So now we have moved to once a day press briefings. So Fridays only. And our numbers have been pretty decent, actually. So we saw yesterday, let me just have a look here. As of, let me just make sure I've got the latest numbers. I think yesterday we had one new Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to find the little ticker for this. I think we had one new case out of like several hundred tests. Jamaica has need to be concerned as well. So we're going to talk about Jamaica here in a second. So Cayman continues to test. We have now tested let me just pull up the totals. We have now tested an additional 319 persons as of yesterday. One was positive, asymptomatic, identified through our screening program. We have 201 total recovered cases. 193 of those have recovered, which is a good significant number. And we've now tested 24,069 persons, one of the highest per capita testing that has happened around the world. So some good, hopeful numbers for us as we continue to try to contain the situation. Jamaica, on the other hand, not so good. Just this week, their Prime Minister has said that anyone who's coming in from the States, and I think he's picked out specific cities because of their high numbers like Florida and so on, that they actually want them to walk with their test results. So they're only going to let you visit or let you come in if you can show test results from the past 7 days. Now, the crazy thing about that, I find that to be such a peculiar request, and I don't know why people would think that that's going to help them much, because you could get tested literally today. They give you 7 days after your test, within 7 days to travel. So say I get tested today and I travel on Monday. That's within my 7 days, but I could have gotten infected over the weekend. So I got tested today, went and had a party, COVID-19 party over the weekend. I traveled to Jamaica on Monday. I still have it. So it's like having a negative piece of paper to show someone in your hands is not a whole lot of comfort. And I think it almost demonstrates that maybe the government doesn't really, it's like they've reopened and then they're trying to like backtrack and figure this out. Like, oh my God, it was obviously a mistake reopening, because the vast majority of their new cases, they've now gone over 700 are being imported in at this particular stage. So, you know, that being the case, it's like, what's the point of reopening? And now you're going to put these additional measures in place, like, oh, we want you to bring a test result, creating additional paperwork that, in all honesty, does it even make sense? Knowing what we know about how COVID-19 operates, I don't think it does. It's given people like false hope. So there's that happening in Jamaica. So as of yesterday, they had 707 confirmed cases. They recorded 5 new imported cases. All 5 arrived from flights from the US. 3 were Jamaicans and 2 were tourists. Of course, nobody is shocked by that based on what we've just discussed. Number of deaths remains at 10. Recoveries, 555. Imported cases now has gone up to 192 and rising every single day. So now they're starting to track how many are imported cases, because they decided to reopen their borders. The highest number of cases still remain linked to that call center, that Alorica call center. 236 are linked to that. And they do have another 39 that are under investigation that could possibly be linked to that one call center as well. So there's that. Listen, it's to our own peril and detriment if we decide to reopen our borders too quickly. And it will always be a situation where those who are in favor of it will not see it until it's too late. They always say hindsight is 2020. So you guys remember that last week, I think it was Thursday, we were reporting about some officers in Jamaica who were arrested in some sort of a U.S. sting operation for drug importation or whatever. So one of the women involved, there's 3 persons were arrested, 1 woman and 2 men. One of the women was actually allowed to return to Jamaica, and I know the Jamaican authorities were interrogating her. But I think the one that was arrested in the US, she has now confessed to being a drug mule, essentially, and that she was recruited by another one of her colleagues to make this drug run to the States, unbeknownst, obviously, to their supervisors. Their supervisors did not even know that they were off island. And she was going to be paid $2,000 US for this very high risk situation, which, geez, I mean, I guess if you're desperate, $2,000 US is a lot of money. But considering what you have to do for it and the chances that you take, it hardly seems like a lot of money to me. I mean, I don't personally think any amount of money in the world is worth that. But of course, when you're in a desperate situation, I do get that your viewpoint might be very, very different. But for a mere $2,000, they've now thrown their careers away as police officers. They have facing jail time, obviously, and all sorts of reputational damage. As you know, you don't recover very well from those types of things. All right, so let me just have a look here. Yep, so that's what's happening there. All right, folks. KFC in the Cayman Islands is closed. We had a few people messaging us yesterday. What's going on with KFC? I need some chicken. Da, 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 da. So we have found out that KFC can't get chicken. That's why they're closed. Now, they are claiming that they sent a statement claiming that they have an internal facilities maintenance project, which started pre-pandemic lockdown, needed to be completed this week, and construction has restarted in Cayman. And their planned reopening for this Friday is now delayed. But we're not talking about planned reopening. We're talking about the fact that they were open at the main branch and even in town, and they have since closed. So they issued a statement saying that the shipping company informed them that the ship bringing imports of their food container into Cayman broke down and has been rescheduled. Please bear with us during this unprecedented time. We'll be frying up your favorite fast food soon. So basically, what this is saying is, which your sources said, is that there's some supply chain issue with them getting chicken. Kind of crazy, but I guess if the container broke down, the container broke down. And so if you are a KFC fan, you're gonna have to wait maybe into next week before you're able to secure your bucket of chicken. Someone posted, I thought that was kind of funny. Someone posted that there's a restaurant on the island who has better fried chicken anyways. They were like, here's where you need to go for your fried chicken. Larry says lots of New York is not being affected, no mask and 2 feet apart. Oh, sorry. Lots of New York are not being careful. No mask and 2 feet apart. I see it everywhere. Whoa, not good. Odette says this is so true. Catherine says, do you really believe that? Closed the other day when we had one local transmission. Strange, don't you think? Well, my inside sources, Catherine, I don't believe a lot what these companies say, but the signage on the door said COVID or some kind of internal maintenance. Right away, when I checked my sources, they said to me that in fact, there was an issue with chicken from their distributors. And I've got sources all over the place. So even my sources linked to the distributors have confirmed for me that there is some sort of issue, and they're hopeful that it could be sorted out as early as Friday, maybe tomorrow. But yeah, I don't believe that they shut down a major location, like the only location really that would have been open most of COVID, because they're the only location that has drive-through, that they would have just shut that down because of some internal maintenance that they had planned. That doesn't even make any sense, because right now you've got employees who are not able to work. I don't know if they're paying them during this time of this internal maintenance or whatever's going on. But yeah, people want to get to work. If you're not making any business as a fast food chain, obviously it is that much more difficult for you to pay your staff. So I believe the shortage of chicken story, because that's precisely what my sources said. They're like, the real reason is they can't get chicken from their supplier. So whoever's importing it for them, I mean, they've kind of admitted it in that statement when they've said that the container broke down. I don't know if the container broke down or not, but it is what it is. The other issue is, of course, as Chantel rightfully says, there's a shortage of chicken in the US. Storage of chicken, a shortage. Just grab those island chickens. Some of the major plants in the US, such as Tyson, they big chicken production plant, they have had to shut down their entire plant, or one of their plants, I should say, because of a COVID outbreak. So that's not to, I mean, that could be a contributing factor as well. King says McDonald's fried chicken is the best on island, but they're super expensive. I try my best to stay away from fried chicken because I think it's probably one of the least healthy foods out there. And lately, though, I've been eating a little bit more than my fair share, because I have found a local restaurant on island that does really good fried chicken. And somebody told me about it. I'm like, yeah, the fried chicken really isn't my thing. And I tried it and I was like, oh my God. Put on the locks on the door. Don't let me out for any more fried chicken. So I try to not eat too much of it. But yeah, it is tasty. I gotta tell you, the good food is what's gonna get you every time, right? So listen, folks, Fidelity. Some of you are still complaining about Fidelity and getting you money. I think more of you now have received your money than previously. However, the complaints continue to trickle in. And in fact, the president of, what's his name? This is another group. Let me just pull this one up so I can tell you his name. So it's not Brett Hill, who's like the local president. This is the bigger guy now, who is president of of the management company, and he issued a statement yesterday apologizing to members for the delays and the lack of communication and how they've been inundated and they haven't. Yes, King, it's, he said you just shared the location. It is Arbutus Gallery in Cannon Place, which used to be Merco Center. They do make a really good fried chicken. I don't personally ever cook fried chicken. When I make fried chicken, I actually bake it. And you can do fairly good baked chicken. But of course, the skin has all sorts of fat and stuff in it anyway. So if you want to go lean, you've got to remove that skin. So yes, they issued this apology by way of YouTube. You guys can have a look at it, saying that they were sorry that Fidelity pension plan participants would have had delays in receiving their money. Now, they told us that you're supposed to get your money by the end of the month. And there were still people yesterday, with it being July 1st, who were still complaining that they had not yet received their money. So it's like, Fidelity, what gives? Get it together. Not only are you late, not only are you sending out emails, not only are you not responsive, on top of that, you're having, continued issues that remain unresolved. So this is Michael Anderson, who's CEO of RF Group. And apparently RF Group now owns Fidelity. And I think this went down earlier in the year when there was some buyout or something. So whatever, people don't want your apology, sir. People just want their money. Apologize all you want, but give them their money. That's what they really want. King says, I'd like to try the air fryer for chicken too. Sorry, I came and made this all about food. Speaking of food, another listener who doesn't necessarily want to comment on the live chat says that Dada's Kitchen in Bodden Town does good fried chicken. I don't even know where Dada's Kitchen is. Do tell. Maybe we need to go on a food trip to check it out. Carolyn says that she has still not gotten her money from Fidelity. This is what I'm telling you. Now, Carolyn, listen to me. You need to email dlp@gov.ky, folks, to lodge your complaint. That's the Department of Labor and Pensions. They need to hear how many people have not received their money from Fidelity, whoever. It doesn't matter who it is. Fidelity seems to be the number one offender, followed by Brit K, who seems to get a lot of complaints as well. And so people are just fed up. Like, there is the law, and the law said 45 days. You've had your 45 days. You've gone over the 45 days. You promised people money by the end of June, and now here we are, and you still don't have people's money right. It's like, really? This is not cool. I noticed I actually needed to adjust my camera a little bit. I moved it over. There we go. That's normally how it is, right? I kind of moved it over, but then the lens is like, I'm going to tell you what my plans are for this show. I keep telling my husband, I need my dedicated studio space in my house, because right now I'm kind of co-sharing between the home office, which it's like stuff all over the place. As you can see, he has access to actually 5 monitors. You normally only see 4, but he actually has a 5 monitor set up there. He's in the IT industry, so apparently they always need a lot of monitors. I have 2 monitors, so that's why sometimes you see me looking in this direction, and then sometimes you see me looking over here. What I want to do is I want to commandeer one of the spare bedrooms, which 99% of the time we don't have anybody visiting us. We have one daughter. She has her own room. We're getting that ready. And then we have 2 additional spare bedrooms. I want to commandeer one of those bedrooms and set it up as my studio. This is my idea. And I can have that space to do a proper backdrop and set up the camera properly, the whole 9 yards. And he's like, do you really need a dedicated space? I'm like, yes. Because right now, if you see my standing desk, I've got all sorts of stuff on it. When I'm not using this camera, I have to move it out of the way. And it's just like a hot mess. Like, I'd like to be able to have it all set up, leave it, and not have to touch it. So Dada's Kitchen is located in Stonecrest Plaza in Bordentown, which I don't even know where that is. But we do have a link here, apparently, to their Facebook page. So tell us, my friend, do they have this chicken every day, this fried chicken? Is it once a week? How often do they have it? Because I think we just need to try it out just to make sure it's good. Perla, thank you so much for tuning in. Perla says you look great, by the way. Perla, it's a little bit of mascara this morning. Got things popping. Perla says, thank God I place all my pension money to one location as my main account. It makes no sense to have 5 pension accounts. Go with one that you trust. And I did. Silver Thatch is my trusted company. Perla makes a good point because I think, honestly, this is a lesson for us as consumers as well on what pension companies are doing a really good job and which ones are not. But it's also a lesson in things like, if you've gotten married, make sure that you do things like update your information. So make sure your name matches, your current name, like names on pension funds, on bank accounts or whatever. Just go and sort all those administrative things out when major events happen, like change of name, for example. If you have multiple pension funds, so of course you don't get to choose what pension company you're with. When your employer, the employer makes that decision. So your employer, decides to go with Fidelity or to go with Silver Thatch or whatever. But if you leave them and you go to another employer who's using a different company, you do have the option to consolidate all of your pension contributions that could theoretically be all over the place into one central location. So Perla, I'm sure, is very happy that she consolidated Silver Thatch. Wherever else she had her other pensions. Some persons may not have had a choice because their employer has decided to go with Fidelity. Now, I do think that there are a number of persons who have said, listen, they are sick and tired of Fidelity and their excuses and their apologies and, the no money that's coming their way. And essentially, they are even switching out their bank accounts and going elsewhere because they're like, Fidelity just doesn't have it together. And trust me, I cannot blame anyone for feeling that way. So, yes. Okay, what else is happening around the world? What else is happening in the Cayman Islands? National IDs are coming soon, folks. According to the government, they want to implement some sort of a national ID system. I actually need to check on this because we were supposed to post something about this. And the story isn't up yet, so I need to see why. Sometimes I assign things to other people and then I'm like, why hasn't this been done? Don't you wish you could split yourself into clone yourself and get it all done? Cable and Wireless Communications has acquired a new company called not a new company. They've acquired a company called IT Outsource. And now that means that Cable and Wireless Communications is in what they call the managed services business. So managed services just means that they provide IT support for other companies. They don't do it for the end consumers, but it's like, there's a number of these companies out there. There's Kirk ISS, there's IT Outsource, there's M something. And a lot of times it's like one company's formed and then somebody has a falling out, they split and then they form another company. And that has happened a number of times at some of these organizations. So basically, they provide IT services and support to other companies. So whether it's like a data center, software, all sorts of stuff. So Cable and Wireless Communications has gotten into the business. So it's interesting. They're saying that it's an important step in the execution of their growth strategy and will strengthen their business, bring in innovative solutions and technologies to existing customers. All right, if you say so. I mean, I think you kind of focus on what your primary business is and get that right before moving into anything else. But I'm not an expert in these things. I just know good customer service when I see it. So I get the logic behind why they might think this is a good idea. If you understand. All right, Perla, Catherine, let me see what your comments are. Yes, good advice here. Catherine says, always remember to change your beneficiary when you get divorced. You'd be surprised how many people forget to do this. And so your spouse will be getting your money, which I'm sure you don't really want. Perla says, you said it. It's the employer that has another pension like chamber. I open it for the time of employment. Then when I leave, I immediately close it and send my funds to my main account. Maureen says, do they changing the old ID? What ID are you referring to, Maureen? We've never had a national ID system before, so that would be something that would be new to the Cayman Islands. I mean, we have government issued IDs like passports, driver's licenses, voter's ID, but this would be like a national ID card. So that's different. We'll talk about that maybe a little bit later on. Employers, another pension like chamber. Yes. Oh, yes, I think I read that already. Keep your options as plan B. Very good. In the US, an operator of Pizza Hut and Wendy's is filing for bankruptcy. And that would cover over 1,000 Pizza Hut locations and 400 Wendy's stores. This company is called NPC International, and they have filed for bankruptcy. Back in January, even before COVID-19, they missed an interest payment, and that dropped their credit ratings on Moody's to not be the best. And so they're now they have filed for bankruptcy. And normally bankruptcy depends on what form, because remember there's like chapter 7, there's chapter 11. So this article doesn't really say, but I think that a lot of times they're doing it in order to try to restructure themselves. It's not like they're necessarily going to completely shut down and go out of business yet, but they will be restructuring themselves. And with the restructure, you know, they're given an opportunity to have time and stuff to pay off their creditors, and they do prioritize creditors. So someone said, what's the purpose of a national ID card? I have a passport, voter's ID, and driver's license. So in other words, why would they need another ID? It's a good question. We will explore what the minister has said in relation to that. Just trying to see what else is happening in the world this morning. Gotta give you the morning tea. The roads are back to crazy here in the Cayman Islands. We saw a number of accidents over the weekend. We also saw a boat sinking yesterday. I'm not sure what caused that. Here's a crazy bit of news. This is just so weird. You ever read something and you think, what on earth did I just read? Okay, so listen to this. This headline says more than 360 elephants die from mysterious causes in Botswana. They don't know why, but literally, the elephants are just dropping dead. Some carcasses were found clustered around water holes, while others appeared to have died falling flat on their faces. So they're looking into what is going on. Live elephants seen nearby appeared physically weak, and one was walking in circles, unable to change direction. So whatever's going on, they're trying to figure it out. They're testing samples from the dead elephants, but they have yet to determine a cause of death. Wow. That's crazy. And elephants are such majestic and beautiful creatures. And they're actually highly intelligent creatures as well. Like, they've been known to show emotions, like they mourn their dead. You know, if they lose a baby or whatever, you'll see the mother there, like literally crying and mourning the loss of the baby. And they're very social creatures. Like, they live in groups, and they have I think normally it's a woman that leads the group. So yeah. So a Black man tried to cash his first paycheck, and the teller called 911. So things continue in the US to be a little bit crazy. So this guy named Paul McCown walked into an Ohio bank, clutching his first paycheck from a new job at an electric company. But instead of cashing the check worth about $1,000, the teller called 911 on him. As he walked out of the Hutchinson Bank branch in Brooklyn, empty-handed, an officer waited outside, handcuffed him, and put him in the back of a police cruiser. You can't really make this stuff up, folks. Seriously. I have a customer here. He's not our customer. Actually, he's trying to cash a check, and the check is fraudulent. Look at how she jumped to this conclusion. It does not match our records, a bank employee says on a recording of a 911 call obtained by CNN. So this happened back in December of 2018, but they're talking about how for many African Americans, this is actually a common experience. Banking while Black is another entry, an ever-growing list of people calling the police on African Americans doing everyday things. No data exists on how prevalent the issue is, but cases have made headlines in recent years. Florida's civil rights attorney said that he gets calls from Black people all over the nation about his client, after his client sued a bank 2 years ago, and this was the case now where the bank got sued. Some incidents end in lawsuits or private settlements with the banks, but many more occur in financial institutions, big and small, with no repercussions at all. So in this case, the bank staff could not reach his employer to verify the check. He followed protocol, provided 2 forms of ID and a fingerprint, and that still wasn't enough for them. So the police had to call his employer and confirm the check was valid and let him go. The bank apologized, saying that its tellers are being hyper vigilant, that's the word that they use, after a series of incidents involving fraudulent checks. He later cashed the check at a different branch with no incidents. He said it was very embarrassing at the time. The person who made the phone call, that manager, that teller, whoever made that call, I feel as though they were judging. And the branch manager actually used a racial slur against him while dealing with the situation. So America continues to struggle. The world, in many respects, continues to struggle with the prejudices that exist in relation to race and other things. Nikisha says racism is real in America. Well, my dear friend, It's real in the Cayman Islands, and I dare say it's probably real in a lot of places all over the world. I've got a friend named Carlos on Facebook. He actually lives in the States. He's originally from, I think, Barbados, maybe. He was a track and field star. And he had mentioned the other day, like, sort of 5 instances throughout his life where he has been like profiled or subjected to racism that really kind of stood out for him. And in one instance, I think he said he was traveling to somewhere in Europe, and they actually wanted to touch him. Like, they were like, oh my God, a Black person, can we touch your skin? As though his skin would be any different from anyone else's. He runs all the time. He's very much into like running marathons and stuff. So yeah, he did the top 5 racial experiences that he has had in his life thus far. And he works for, I forget what kind of, he works for, so he studied operations management in the US. He lives in Texas right now, and he's originally from Barbados. And so he works for BP America. And he did work for John Deere, actually. And so, yeah, so Carlos, talked about these experiences. And he says when he was in Finland, he was followed around for 2 hours because they wanted to touch his skin. Whoever was following him around, they followed him around as though he was some exotic creature. And they wanted to touch his skin because I guess in Finland, they don't see very many Black people. I don't know. So isn't that crazy? He said, when in LA, being followed by the police for driving and looking suspicious with my sons in the car on I-10. While in Texas, seems like he travels a lot, being demoted just because, although performance was excellent. While an IA, manager pissed and that they were forced to hire him through the company's diversity initiatives. So they were very vocal about the diversity and quit the company. So the other person quit the company and walked out after 28 years of service because, heaven forbid, you have to hire a person through your diversity program. Isn't that shocking? NMS being followed one night by the KKK, 2 cars and 10 guys for refusing to let an employee wear a T-shirt with the Confederate flag in his diverse department. Per HR, it's part of their state flag, so it's not a violation. I was like, not in my department. And as a result of him taking that stance, he was followed one night by the KKK. Someone has just sent us a message on WhatsApp saying that they can confirm stuff like this happening in Finland. They said it's true. I had the same experience the very first island games that I went to. Unbelievable. So yes, America has race issues, but America is not the only one. There are people all over the world that have issues with racism. Strange, but true. Catherine, the new Margaritaville, or the old one in Harbor Drive, the one in West Bay could have their pension with Brit K. Oh, I didn't see, I think I missed a question or comments. Radine says, hi, good morning. We need help with our pension for Margaritaville. They have not paid no pension for no one looking for pension and nothing pay up. Government needs to look into this, please. You are not the only person now that you say that. Someone else reached out about Margaritaville. I think this is the hotel. Let me just do a little search on my email because someone else has messaged me. Here we go. This was actually from May. And I'm sorry, but sometimes I get these emails, and this was sent to DLP, so government is aware of this. So I don't know what they're doing, but they say pension deposit delinquency by Margaritaville Beach Resort. Now here's the crux. Margaritaville Beach Resort has now changed. They're being bought out by somebody else. I have heard, my sources have said, I'm waiting for some additional information, that it's the same owners basically, but they're changing their names to avoid the liability. So they're going to form a whole new company basically to avoid the previous liability that was there. So yes, someone had been complaining since at least May. We received an email saying, "Good day, I'd like to seek your advice and assistance regarding your pension. I'm very sorry if I'm writing to you anonymously, as this issue is with regards to my employer, and it is a big company, and I'm just one of their poor employees. Please kindly protect my identity, please. Thank you very much. I hope you could advise and assist us in behalf of our employees at Margaritaville Beach Resort, MV Advisory Limited, including me. Most of us are planning to withdraw our pension from BritK to supplement ourselves during this lockdown period, but to our surprise, which most of us learned about after inquiring to BritK, we found out that Margaritaville Beach Resort has not been depositing your pension contributions to BritK since March of 2019. What the? All right, I'm going to escalate this. Let me print off this email actually. Let me see if I can get a hold of them. I mean, honestly, this is ridiculous, but it happens every single day and there's little to no recourse for it. By the time the DLP gets around to even charging someone, so much time has passed and, you know, these people are sitting out here waiting for their money. Let me see what more I can find out about this. We will try to contact this company. I don't know if they're registered locally, but I do know that they sent out something saying that there'd be some changes in the ownership of the organization. And I suspect very, very strongly that this is a situation whereby they're making the changes to avoid the liability or the perceived liability of having to pay people pension money and other debts that are owing. So Radine says, but Kay, let us know that we don't have any pension pay up as yet. Wow. Unbelievable. Nikisha says the KKK, very bad people. They don't care for people. They teach hate. Question, did they deduct employment contributions? Karen, yes. Based on the email that I've received, they have been deducting the pension, the employee contributions, but they've not been paying it into the pension fund. Let us see if we can reach out to them today and find out whatever we can. So I will do my best. I think this Margaritaville had ties to Jamaica, maybe. We're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to try to find out who they are, who owns them, and the whole 9 yards. Of course, now they've claimed that they've had a change of ownership. So, but still, the old company will owe this money. You can't get away with this sort of thing. I will definitely make some inquiries. Folks, it's almost 9:15, so you know what that means. We are out of time. Yes, yes, yes. So it says here when you go to their website, notice from Margaritaville, they closed on March the 22nd due to COVID-19. The property owners intend to reopen on October 31st, sorry. However, the resort will not reopen as Margaritaville Resort. It will reopen under a branded rename, which they don't say what that would be. Maybe Dart is buying them, who knows? So let us look into this, because I really, I really cannot stand for people to be taken advantage of. All right, folks, I'm going to work on this today and see what I can find out. And if we can't find out very much, we will certainly be reporting on what we do know. This is unacceptable, to be quite frank. Okay, leave it with me. I'm going to add it to my list of things that I need to be working on. Margaritaville is a huge brand name all over the world. They've got properties in North Carolina, Kentucky, Jacksonville Beach, Fort Myers, San Diego, and the list goes on and on and on and on. So let us try to get a hold of their corporate office and find out who owns the Cayman Islands location, who this previous company was, and try to see if we can reach their corporate offices and see what's going on. All right, leave it with me, folks. I'll do my best to make some inquiries. Lots of breaches under the pension law, my dear Karen. Marlene says she's still waiting on BritK from May, no answer approval. Marlene, send me a WhatsApp message. 324-1612 is the number. I've got the direct email address, folks, of the guy at BritK, and trust me when I tell you, I have no issues with emailing him and saying, hey, Marlene needs her money. She's not heard from you guys since May. We're now in July. Tell us what is going on. And they don't want to be featured on Cayman Mall Road, believe me you. So normally they look into it quickly and they'll get back to you. So Maureen, send it to me. Let me see if I can help you out. Report them to the DLP as well. I'm telling you, even if you get your money, do not be complacent about this. Report them, because what they're doing is wrong. Okay, it is illegal, unlawful. Ay, ay, ay. So yesterday we had Mr. Odell on the show, and a lot of persons have been in contact with him about getting some assistance with the government grant. So again, you can reach him. I'm going to just see if I have the number here to scroll on the screen. Odell 326-2094. He will kind of just walk you through the process, tell you what's involved, collect all of your documents, and make the submissions on your behalf. And he's charging a fee for that of $125. Someone said yesterday, oh, but you can do it for free yourself. Well, I'm sure if the people that he's assisting could do it for themselves, they wouldn't need his services. It's like, if I can do my lawn for myself, I'm not going to pay somebody to do it. But every single day we do pay people to do certain services for us. It is what it is. So give Odell a call if you're interested in that. Big shout out to Miracle Brokers. They are open now to regular hours. And I just want to remind everyone as well that tonight's program, because tonight is Thursday, so we will have an evening program at 7 o'clock. The first half an hour of our show will be here, and then we're going to switch over to our friends over at Homeland Daily, because they are doing a show on pensions. So again, this has been something that has been complained about a lot, and Homeland Daily is like, listen, give us a break here. We're trying to help the people. We're trying to inform the people, and they're trying to get the source on what's going on in the world of pensions. And so in the world of pensions, I'm telling you, in the Cayman Islands, a lot of the pension companies have not provided the service that they claim that they would provide. They've just not performed well. So big shout out to Silver Thatch, who I think has done the best job. And like I said, I'm not partial to Silver Thatch, and I'm not partial to Chamber. But by and large, Silver Thatch and Chamber have had very few complaints that have come my way. And trust me, I hear the complaints every single day. So the second half of the show, I'm going to jump over into their live stream, because they start live streaming like about 7:30 in the evening. So what I'll do is I'll share the link to their live stream so that you guys can tune in for that. 10:30 this morning, we are going to be live streaming the Court of Appeal decision for the port appeal. So as you guys know, the CPR group took the Cayman Islands government to task, took them to court over this whole port situation. And they won, amazingly, their case. And the government says, aha, not so quick. We're going to appeal it. So they spent our money to fight us, the people, and they have appealed it to the Court of Appeal. So that decision will be coming down the pipeline this morning. And we will be having that live streaming. So although the courts will say, like, my case isn't accessible through Zoom, they're going to allow this to be. There's no rhyme or reason to this stuff sometimes. Although it is obviously a matter of importance, but you could say that every case is a matter of national importance. Well, in particular from the perspective of the people who are having to, be involved in it. Anyway, we're not going to argue the point this morning. I'm just pointing it out. Yes, so that will be at 10:30. We will start the live stream, so please tune back in for that. I think it's an important decision. Win, lose, or draw, we will certainly try to have Mrs. Ralston on the program so we can have a discussion about what she's gone through and talk about all of that. So tune in. This is a big moment in the history of the Cayman Islands, folks. When our own government fights us and we fight back, they continue to fight us. And they spend their money doing it, which I think is so incredibly amazing. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this morning. I appreciate the love and support. See you back here at 7. Just a reminder, we've just celebrated our 3rd anniversary. We're doing so many fantastic things. I'm going to have some information on tonight's program, and tomorrow we're going to start promoting our new youth program, which we don't have a name for yet. So in order to find a name, we are going to have a name the show contest, and there's tons of great prizes that your kids could win. So if they're in middle or high school, because we're not really talking about like too young, right? Not necessarily too young. So if they're in middle or high school, make sure that they're paying attention. They can name the show. If the name is picked, they win this wonderful prize pack that includes $100 in cash. They're going to get a pendant from Prodigy Jewelers. Shout out to Prodigy Jewelers. It's a coat of arms pendant, so they can be proud of, all things Cayman in. They're going to get a gift certificate from Lavonia's Kitchen, a gift certificate from Foster's, a gift certificate from Popeyes, and a gift certificate from a gaming platform. So if they're into the world of gaming, they're going to love that as well. So Perla wants to know, when is CMR going to the beach and chillax? Perla, I've been feeling the call of the ocean waves. I don't really swim, but I love lying on the beach. I love just closing my eyes and just taking it all in. So I might do that this weekend. I might do like a drive out to the east, stop by my friends there at East End's, what's the little spot in East End called? The Fish Fry there. They make a nice fried lobster. With some fish and fritters. That's Miss Karen and her team out there. And I love their fried lobster. So East End, what's it called? East End Bar. Oh, by the way, I got to warn you before we close off the show today. Remember the scammer girl that we had featured I don't even think it's been a month yet. Letitia Thompson Pearson. Well, she's at it again, folks. She has a new social media account with a new name. So I want you guys to be aware of this one. This one is called Bella McKellen. This is Letitia Thompson Pearson. Do not accept this account, folks. I don't know what's wrong with this woman. I don't know how many fake accounts Facebook is going to continue to allow her to have, but this is her. Now, she's smart and she's learning, because look at it this time. Her profile photo, normally she'd put up a profile photo of herself, and this time she hasn't done that. But soon she'll acquire and amass a number of friends. And before you know it, she's going to be begging you to make a donation for some poor child that has been put in a dumpster somewhere around the world, which actually isn't the case. And the next thing you know, she's taking your goods or your money. Be smart, folks. Be smart. Big shout out to Roque for partial sponsorship. If you are interested, folks, in saving money on TV, contact them. They have a Facebook page where they have a 5-star rating from their customers, which I think speaks volumes. Give them a call and find out how for only $50 per month, you can have options available to you. Save money. Who else do we have to give a big shout out to? Of course, Popeyes, Louisiana Chicken, Burger King as well. So big shout out to them. They're doing a spicy crispy chicken. So if you're into the spices, do check them out, please. And they'll be happy to hook you up. Big shout out to Ricardo. We haven't seen Ricardo in a little bit. Maybe next week we can have Ricardo back on. Krista from Eat and Clean. Need to reach out to Krista. She's overdue for coming on the program. So we should probably see Krista next week. And let's see what the discussion is. She has so many interesting things that she wants to discuss. And of course, if you have a small business, be part of the conversation here on the Cold Hard Truth in our special segment called Everybody's Business. Everybody's Business is your opportunity to promote your small businesses, allowing you to, tell us what you've got on offer. What are you up to? If you're doing, a restaurant, if you do retail, whatever, come on Cayman Mall Road, and I can tell you the results are proven. Just late yesterday, Odell said to me his phone had been ringing off of the hook. He's like, Sandy, people not only listen to your program, but they respect your program. And they know that if any company comes on your show and they're up to any shenanigans, you're going to call them out for it. And as a result of that, the companies themselves try to behave themselves as well. So I appreciated the feedback from Odell, but he said his phone was literally ringing off the hook from all of the new customers that had come on board as a result of him being on the show yesterday. So check it out. Check it out. All right, folks, that's it. We're done here until this evening, 10:30. Again, tune in, please, to see what the Court of Appeal decides in this port referendum case, whether or not the government wins or the CPR group wins. We will be here for it. And of course, we can discuss the results of that case a little bit later on as well. Have a beautiful day. The sun is back out. Looks like the rain is over. So go out and enjoy it. As Perla says, go to the beach, get some sun. Blessings to all.
Miracle Brokers is back. That's right. We're fully reopened and back to work. Our agents are here to serve you with all of your packing and shipping needs. Need to move? Don't worry. Give us a call today. Collect a package, shipping around the world, or straight to Cayman? You got it. Give us a call on 949-5989. Collection by personalized appointment only, where our dedicated agents are on standby to personally assist you. Don't forget to wear your mask, maintain social distancing, and one person per appointment. Check us out at miraclebrokers.com today. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.